A crushing blow announced today by Windsor's biggest employer. Stellantis is reporting massive losses for the first part of 2025. Robert Lothian joins us with our top story tonight. Robert.
Yeah, Stephanie, Stellantis is predicting a record net loss to start the year. And this latest bout of financial turmoil, the company says, is due in part to tariffs. The automaker is reporting a preliminary estimated loss of $2.7 billion due to U.S. tariffs and the weakening demand in its European market. About $350,000 worth is being attributed to tariffs, which only began in the spring. The CEO is promising a gradual and sustainable improvement in the second half of this year, but analysts warn a path back to even footing won't be easy under the current market conditions.
Sales are down. They've been down considerably over the last year. They're down projected to be down another 25% in North America this half, which is, absolutely terrible for an automaker, especially Stellantis, which lives on volume. They need to sell these vehicles, but at the moment, they're sitting on dealer lots.
This financial blow comes one day after Unifor inked its first contract with Nexstar battery plant workers.
This is a brand new industry in Canada, and we have to make sure they're getting the proper representation they deserve.
88% of the members voted to adopt the agreement, becoming part of Unifor Local 444. The contract includes a 5% wage bump, lump sum payments, and pension improvements. Currently, the union represents about nearly 500 workers at the plant. Union President James Stewart says they've strategically negotiated a one-year pact.
We know that the industry is changing fast. We know the workplace is evolving very quickly. We didn't want to lock ourselves into a long-term agreement. It's a one-year agreement so we can address the issues in the short term and then get back to the bargaining table in due course to fix the problems that are going to arise over the course of the next year.
Unifor National President Lana Payne was not available for an interview. In a statement to CTV News, she calls the automaker's finances reflective of the damaged economic conditions caused by U.S. tariffs. She goes on to say permanent tariffs at any level will, of course, devastate the injury. Stephanie.
As you mentioned earlier, our biggest employer.
Absolutely.
Okay, Robert Lothian tonight. Thank you for this.
The story of North America's auto industry has always been a turbulent one, shaped by politics, global competition, labor movements, and the never-ending race for technological dominance. But few events have generated as much debate, confusion, and controversy as the latest strategic shift by Stellantis, one of the largest automakers in the world. A company that spans continents, employs hundreds of thousands of workers, and controls iconic brands like Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Fiat, and Peugeot is now making a move that many analysts believe will change the balance of power between the United States and Canada. Across the American Midwest, workers are watching closely as Stellantis repositions its manufacturing priorities. Plants that once symbolized American industrial strength now face uncertainty, with shifts in production, pauses, restructurings, and future planning that has alarmed communities dependent on the auto sector. Meanwhile, north of the border, Canada is experiencing a wave of optimism. New investments, new production lines, and expanded commitments are setting the stage for a massive economic boost, one that could reshape the entire auto landscape. To understand what's happening, we need to go back to the roots of Stellantis. Formed from the merger of Fiat Chrysler Automobiles and PSA Group, Stellantis emerged as a 21-brand superpower, capable of making rapid global decisions. But the world Stellantis entered was already undergoing a seismic shift. Electric vehicles were rising, government policies were changing, and international competition, especially from Asia, was exploding. Stellantis needed to pivot, and fast. In the United States, the auto transition to electric vehicles has been a complicated one. Federal incentives encouraged the shift, but charging infrastructure lagged, consumer adoption fluctuated, and manufacturing costs soared. To stay competitive, Stellantis had to rethink production strategies, leading to difficult decisions affecting American workers. Some plants saw layoffs, others faced temporary shutdowns, and some were reassigned to different production goals. For the workers living through it, the economic shockwaves were very real. Meanwhile, Canada presented Stellantis with a clear advantage: aggressive incentives, government partnerships, skilled labor, and a political environment pushing hard to attract EV investment. Canada wasn't just offering tax credits, it was offering long-term support for battery plants, research hubs, next-generation automotive technology, and green supply chains. For Stellantis executives looking to reduce risk and maximize profit, Canada became a strategic win. One of the most significant factors in this shift is the North American EV battery race. Batteries aren't just a component, they are the heart of every electric vehicle, and the country that controls battery production controls the future of the auto industry. When Canada secured big-ticket deals to bring new battery manufacturing to Ontario, it created a ripple effect across the entire North American market. Stellantis, already planning its next decade of growth, took notice. As Canada ramped up its offerings, Stellantis began redirecting major investment initiatives northward. Billions flowed into new Canadian production lines, new facilities, and new modernization projects. What surprised many analysts is the scale of these investments, far larger than what many originally predicted. It signaled that Stellantis was not just experimenting. It was rebalancing. For American workers, this was deeply concerning. Entire communities rely on Stellantis plants for their livelihoods. When production shifts, so do mortgage payments, small businesses, school funding, and entire local economies. Even temporary slowdowns can have long-lasting impacts. The uncertainty triggered discussions among unions, state governments, and labor leaders, each trying to understand how far-reaching Stellantis' shift would become. Yet the situation is not a simple winners versus losers narrative. Stellantis understands the leverage of the U.S. market and knows it cannot abandon such a massive consumer base. But the path the company is choosing seems to favor greater geographic diversification. And in that equation, Canada currently holds the competitive advantage. As the auto world evolves, some industry experts argue that Canada strategically positioned itself with perfect timing. With multi-billion-dollar partnerships in EV battery production and supply chain restructuring, Canada offered Stellantis a chance to modernize its operations at reduced risk. For a global automaker in a transition decade, stability matters just as much as profit. While American workers grapple with uncertainty, Canadian workers are preparing for expansion. Recruitment campaigns, workforce training, and new infrastructure are already underway. Local governments are planning for economic growth. And suppliers across Canada are gearing up for a surge in demand. But the story is far from over. The United States is unlikely to stand idle as Canada gains momentum. New incentives, revised policies, and growing pressure from labor unions will shape the next chapters in this continental race. Stellantis may find itself navigating complicated political dynamics, especially as the U.S. government pushes to strengthen domestic manufacturing. Even now, questions remain about long-term production planning. Will Stellantis bring new models to American plants? Will restructuring stabilize or continue? Will government incentives steer future decisions? These questions will shape the economic destinies of thousands of North American families. What is clear is that Stellantis' recent move has sparked one of the biggest conversations in the modern auto industry. It has forced analysts, workers, politicians, and investors to confront the realities of global economic shifts. No company operates in isolation, and even the largest corporate decisions have consequences that stretch far beyond boardrooms. In the years ahead, the U.S.-Canada industrial dynamic will continue to evolve. Skilled labor, government policy, global competition, and the speed of the EV revolution will determine who gains and who falls behind. The Stellantis story is not simply about cars, it's about the future of work, the future of energy, and the future of North American economic power. For the United States, the challenge will be reclaiming momentum and building new competitive advantages. For Canada, the task will be maintaining consistency, continuing innovation, and ensuring long-term stability. For Stellantis, the road ahead will require balancing profit, politics, and public perception, all while navigating a rapidly transforming world. And for the workers whose lives depend on these decisions, every announcement, every shift in production, and every strategic move carries enormous weight. The stakes are high, the timeline is fast, and the entire continent is watching what happens next. This is the story of a company redefining its future, and a region fighting to define its place in the next era of global manufacturing. Thanks for watching Alert 360 News, where real stories meet real impact. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, smash that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join the fastest growing news community on YouTube.